Okay, just a couple announcements. We have public comments up here. We comment forms in the back. We're receiving public comment from town residents tonight. Please fill out your comment forms, and when I call you up, state your name and address for the record, please. One person talking at a time. Like to remember, talking, please be quiet so we can hear you. We do have a better sound system, so you should be able to hear a little bit better tonight. And I'm first gonna call this meeting to order for the Town of Waterford special meeting on, I want to say Monday, December 30th, 2024 at 5:30. I'm gonna start with I'm just gonna do a small update on the cooperative boundary agreement because I know that there's been some, and I received a lot of phone calls with concerned people. What it seems like I probably didn't make enough, but I did blow up the flow chart and put that in the back for people to see so you can follow what the flow chart is. We can get that for you. But there just seems to be a mishap in the steps, how they went. So the vote from the village of Waterford, the vote from the town of Waterford, pretty much null and void. Right now, we shouldn't have gone to vote yet. What needs to happen first is a joint public hearing where there can be comments from people, and then we'll move on from there. So it's just a misstep, a mishap. So the flow chart is there, just so you understand. We know that we will have a chance to talk during that public hearing, but because some people wanted to talk, I know that we do. I believe we have a combined from people in Hickory Hollow, and they do have someone, Jackie Strelo, if you wanted to come forward and read that statement on behalf of your group, and just state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Jackie Strelo. I'm a Town of Waterford resident. My address is 31520 Hickory Hollow Road in Waterford. Thank you to the members of the town board for providing us with an update on the proposed cooperative boundary agreement between the village and town of Waterford. We really appreciate the boundary community's effort in putting it all together. While there are numerous advantages in the agreement, many of us are specifically concerned with a paragraph 3, section 10, entitled highways within the territory covered by the plan. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of many community members in regard to this section only. The paragraph says, and I quote, "Within 5 years of the effective date of the agreement, shall construct a connecting extension of Hickory Hollow Road and eliminate the cul-de-sac." End quote. We have board and committee members, many of which we've talked to in the last week, that this would be done for safety reasons, and we put a lot of thought into that. While we recognize the importance of fire and police and rescue access, we believe the proposed solution is necessary and would be detrimental to our neighborhood in a variety of ways. We are aware of and accept that in some circumstances, extra time may be needed in response to an emergency due to the current road design. Two reasons that we have, and I want to say the number one reason that we have also is safety, and I want to explain quickly why. We believe that connecting the roads would increase traffic flow significantly, including cut-through traffic, along with high potential for speeding, all of which compromise the safety of the residents and the tranquility of our neighborhood. Our neighborhood has a small town country filled with no sidewalks and streetlights, and I want to say that again, no sidewalks and streetlights, which definitely adds to the aesthetics of the neighborhood, and this is why we chose to live there. Currently, in tandem with exceptionally low traffic, we also have very low risk to pedestrian foot traffic, including adults and children of all ages, walking, biking, scooting, jogging, you name it, they're out there, which are prevalent in our neighborhood. If the road is opened, the increased traffic volume and potential speed hazards, coupled with no sidewalks and no streetlights, will create a serious safety risk for pedestrian versus vehicle accidents. This is of grave concern to the people who live along Hickory Hollow Road. Where will they walk, ride, play, run? Because they're out there and there's no place to do that anymore if there's no sidewalks or streetlights. Although I'm not a resident of Kettle Glen or Fairview, the feedback we've gotten so far is there's already too much traffic on Hickory Hollow Road, on the other side of the berm. There are people on both sides of the berm here tonight who are very interested in how it will affect their families. Also, cul-de-sacs provide a safe and quiet environment that encourages community engagement beyond the safety of children, pedestrians, and residents. We also are concerned for impact on property values. Cul-de-sacs are often cited as a desirable feature for residential areas, contributing to higher property values. Increased traffic and the loss of the cul-de-sacs could negatively impact property values and the overall appeal of the community. Third out of the fourth reason is environmental landscape and liability concern. The Hickory Hollow Homeowners Association owns and pays property taxes, insurance, and maintenance on the private park that's in our neighborhood, users of our neighborhood only. That increased traffic will open up the possibility of outside residents utilizing the park in Sledding Hill, which brings the HOA unwanted usage and liability. Also, construction required to connect the roads would eliminate a very well-established fence line, which includes several 30-foot tall evergreen trees in a wooded area. In closing, a significant majority of residents have expressed opposition to this section of the proposed boundary agreement, emphasizing the importance of maintaining the current road status and structure of our neighborhood. Property owners chose this neighborhood to live and raise their families due to desirable landscape, quiet communities, the lack of through traffic, providing a very safe place. At this time, we are in communication with a large majority of residents in the applicable and connected neighborhoods. We will soon be prepared to submit a petition to the town and village boards requesting the removal of paragraph 3, section 10 of the agreement. And I just want to add one quick thing. Shame on us for not knowing that this was going on for 18 months and not knowing what's going on in my local government. That's a little embarrassing. I go to work, I come home, and everything always seems fine. You guys work hard. I completely respect you and all that you do. I think a lot of us have learned a lot of lessons that we need to pay attention to what's going on. So I want to thank you for your time and consideration, and thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Just got one more. Martin Berger, do you have anything to add?
I echoed her sentiment exactly, 100%. Thank you. Appreciate the
Just didn't want to
opportunity.
skip you.
Should I mention we will be meeting with that group?
Yeah.
We will be meeting with that group, the border agreement, border committee on, I believe it's January 6th at 6 p.m. here. So please come back with all your concerns. We will look forward to hearing from you.
And I would like to make a correction too. I believe that the chair, when she said that the votes taken by the town and village are null and void. I spoke with Eric Schmidtke last week. He said, well, we may have done the vote out of order. It doesn't necessarily nullify anything. After the public hearing, we may or may not have another vote depending upon if anything changes. So I will disagree on that point.
And we will be meeting with him or talking with him early next year.
That's not what I was told, but we'll have that meeting and you guys come and get your comments to them and we'll take another look at everything. So thank you for coming tonight and speaking up about that. The next thing we're going to do is we do have a lot of public comment. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about police and all that. So what I'm going to do is take some comments first. And again, please, when you come forward, state your name and address. And I don't really like to limit people, but we're just a few minutes, so it doesn't get too long. So I'm just going to go in order of the comments here. I have a Diane Barron. You want to come forward, please? Just your name and address.
My name is Diane Behrens. I live at 6616 North Tishigan Road in the town of Waterford. I never spoke at a town meeting, and I just might be part of the silent majority. I'm retired, and I vote in every election, no matter how small, including special elections. I vote for people who are fiscally conservative. I want my town board and also the school board to look after the taxpayer interests. This board is considering to eliminate the police department and use the Racine County Sheriff's Department. I am for saving money and hiring the Sheriff's Department. Would it be nice to have a police department? Absolutely. It's difficult to get qualified officers because of the last few turbulent years, and because of this, there is a shortage of officers. The sheriff's department has body cameras, which is ideal, and Waterford PD does not.
Yes,
And again, this would be an added expense for taxpayers. Also, I'm aware that a board member or members has a conflict of interest in voting to eliminate the police department because of relatives or friends that work in the department. I hope this member or members recuse themselves from this vote. I also believe perhaps this should go to a referendum if you have this conflict. The town of Waterford does not have a large population that requires a police department. Our taxes are getting too high, especially with all the school referendums that keep coming up, but that's another subject. People are not going to move to Waterford, and homeowners will be leaving because it's too expensive to live here. So I implore the board to do the right thing for taxpayers. And if you don't, you won't be getting my vote when your term is up. Thank you.
Dan Egan?
Yeah, I was gonna do that for the pledge.
I guess I'm gonna serve here.
So please state your name and address.
Good evening, my name is Dan Egan, 32610 Sunburst Court, been a resident of the town since '87. I was here last week Monday for the hearing or the meeting, public comment. And at that point in time, one thing that it was a difficult meeting, and it was a difficult meeting for me to even watch, but I'm not going into that. But I would say that one thing that I'm sure that did come out of that meeting was, regardless of whatever side people were on for the contract with the county or to retain the police department, I didn't hear anybody hearing that they wanted to have a reduction in services. So this town of Waterford law enforcement comparison that was distributed last week had 3 columns. One was the full-time Waterford PD, and there was a dollar amount up on top for $1,361,000. And then there was a full-time on the right side, a full-time for the sheriff's department of $622,000, and a part-time Waterford PD, excuse me, for $700,000. My point being, after last week, I didn't see anybody interested in that middle column for a part-time. People were concerned about dollars, but first and foremost was safety and security. That will compromise that, because you're not going to have the same staffing capacity that you would have with either of the other columns. So I'm going to address my comments with the expectation that part-time suggestion is dead in the water. And just to make a comment, and I'll follow up on what this lady Diane said before me. I agree, and with looking to contract with the sheriff's department and looking at facts. First of all, finance, and that's one thing, finance, to have a full-time Waterford PD would cost over twice as much as it would to have a full-time dedicated police service offered here on site with by the Racine Police. I guess if you would look at the we're talking about $739,000 more to have a full-time PD as opposed to the contract with the with the sheriff's department. Now, I would also offer this, my understanding, and I tried to research some of this, but my understanding is that currently there are no Waterford PD staff officers who live in the town. There are, however, a number of Racine County Sheriff's Department deputies that live in and around the town. I have one who lives on my block, Fortunate, not block, street, and he's right at the front, entrance to our street. Makes me happy. I think about, the county and the depth and the breadth of services, equipment, training, personnel that they have in comparison to what we have or had or would have as a full-time PD. I also would think that it stands to reason that if the town had a contract with the county sheriff's department, and there would be an incident or an occasion to need more services, police services, they would respond with a sense of urgency because of the familial relationship that county department has through this contract, and the fact that we've got a bunch of deputies who are residents of the town themselves. If you apply the reasonable man standard to this, financially, there's no comparison. Depth-wise and security, people were concerned about safety and security. That was number one. I think last week, there was still some, excuse me, there was still some confusion as to what we were going to get with the contract. People were thinking, and I heard a number of times, well, it's going to take 40 minutes for a car to arrive. That's what it sort of, or kind of could take now. But what we're talking about is contracting and having the same number of personnel here, only difference being they be sheriff instead of RPD. So they're already here. That's my comment. One other thing I would say is this. I was somewhat surprised with the lack of financial interest by some of the members of the board. And I go back to, I've been here since '87, like I said, and Mike, you may remember this, Mike do this. There was an issue here several years ago relative to a mining operation that was proposed, and it had been up and down for years, on, off, and problems off of Maple Road. And that application had gone through the county board and passed. It had gone through the planning committee here and passed, and was sitting at the where you are right now, ready to pass that. And there was a conflict of interest that existed on that board at that time. And I know that there's a conflict of interest right now, as clear as day. And I won't call it out if I don't have to, but that needs to be taken care of, and that individual needs to recuse themselves from the vote on this. I am very much in favor of the contract. Last thing, if I can, I wrote the board back on December 6th, every member. And I know Tim responded to me, said he got my letter, and Terry did, but I'd like to read this. It won't take long. I'm writing to encourage the town board to contract with the Racine County Sheriff's Department for policing services. The town of Waterford Police Department, my personal experience, is inefficient, ineffective, and many of you know what I went through with that. While there may be some individual officers, employees who are dedicated and work to do their best, the caliber of leadership and some of the officers and staff, as exposed recently, unsafe, non-responsive, and unacceptable. While the financial costs associated with the town maintaining a proprietary PD is of significant consideration. The ability to adequately outfit a department and recruit, train, retain a high caliber of career dedicated, competent, and effective staff in a small municipality is at best difficult. With the general increase in concern regarding rising crime rates and its expansion into the rural setting, competent, effective, and responsive law enforcement is a must priority. Waterford PD is in a state of disarray and dysfunction that has been in the local and regional news. There is no PD leadership, and confidence amongst the majority of residents I have spoken to are knowledgeable of the situation is at an all-time low. The county sheriff's department has been contracted to shore up the void left by the disciplinary suspensions and staff changes. The current dysfunctional state of affairs has continued for months. Now is a perfect time to contract with the county sheriff's department to provide full policing services to the town. A contract for a specific length of time, i.e. 1 or 2 years, would provide an opportunity for the town to evaluate such a relationship. At the same time, it will ensure police protection for town residents from a trained, comprehensive, and professionally competent led staff. I have no information related to what the difference in financial costs to the town of contract with the county would present, although now we do have that information. However, I expect the net effect would be to deliver a reduction to what the town is currently spending. And now we know it's almost $740,000.
Yeah, it's way past the time that she said.
Yeah,
sorry.
really.
Okay, anyway, I would encourage you to consider the facts.
Well said.
Thank you.
Excuse.
Next, Philip Paul. Please state your name and address, please.
Step back, I don't want to touch it. Philip Call, 6616 North Michigan Road. I think this is one of the most important decisions you guys have had to make in a long time. I'm a little disheartened by getting involved in this, and I think almost all of you are on a different page, it seems like. I mean, I kind of question the communication among all 5 of you. And with that being said, I think there's an obligation, because this is such a large amount of money, that it should be referendum. I think the people should choose this. Nothing against any of you guys, but this is a major deal. The other thing I'm disheartened by is is it so hard? I've heard rumors like, well, that's not the sheriff's department cost, or that's not the cost that's going to be real for keeping the police department. How hard is it to put this in concrete numbers and publish it, you know, whether it's on the town website, this is plan A, this is plan B, and let the voters decide. I mean, there's probably 150 people here, but that's what, 1/40th? What is there, 4,000 registered voters here? I mean, I think that the best way for this to be for the people and by the people is let the people make the decision. I'm gonna keep mine very short, so thank you.
Jeannie Lupo.
I'm here, but I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Rick Rudd. And please state your name and address.
Rick Renz, 28715 Golden Circle. My concern is, I believe that this should have gone to a vote a year ago. When the chief left, he was not replaced. I understand you tried, but he was not replaced. Essentially, you ripped the rudder off of your ship, okay? Then in May, you suspended lieutenants. I don't know anything about the investigation, but I know they were suspended for a long period of time with pay. As a former police chief in Muskego, you don't do that. You suspend them, you do the investigation, you either put them back on, you discipline them, or you get rid of them as soon as possible. Going months like this is not good. You've taken the oars off your ship as well as the rudder. So it's no wonder, as you said, that we have all these problems going on in the PD here, okay? Now, I'm not here to say we gotta get a police department going again. I'm not here for that, okay? There will be a reduction in services if we go with the sheriff's department. That's just the way it is, because as I spoke last week, they dedicate a deputy to the city or to the town, but if they're busy somewhere else, they will pull them. And because they will not stay in the community the whole time. They can't do that. It's impossible to do that. And there isn't a county around that can guarantee that. And I will also give you, there are times when a Waterford town officer would have to leave the city to go help another agency too. Okay, so there will be somewhat reduction. I don't know if you guys thought at all about the balloon fest and parade. Is there going to be added charges of those? I don't know if that was discussed with the sheriff's department.
Since this last year when we changed that, so the taxpayers were no longer paying for security for private events like that, those vendors need to get their own and pay for their own security.
Okay.
So we're not paying overtime for police officers anymore. It's not fair to the taxpayers.
Okay, then another option is, and they talked about it last week, is going with the village, doing an interagency police department. I did interagency agreements with for our SWAT team, stuff like that. That is a possibility, that if you wanted to keep the police department, that you could incorporate the village, that would cut down the costs, things like that. So I think it should have gone to a vote as to whether the community wants to have its own police department or if they want to go with the sheriff's department. And I'm not here to argue either way, but I just think it should have gone to a vote, and that is another option if we want to keep our department. But I do think that what you talked about last week, having an officer in charge, that's not going to work. That's going to just kick the can down the road another month or another year, and a year from now, we're going to be having the same issue. So, okay.
Thank you. State your name and address, please.
Lori Rosauer, 6301 Crane Court, Waterford. So unlike the gentleman earlier who didn't want to speak about last week's meeting, I am going to. I watched the Racine County Sheriff's proposal on Zoom, and the room was sparsely filled. Last week, when Officer Polka made her presentation, the room was standing room only. The behavior of the board last week, the bias that I saw with the board last week was truly, for me, astounding. I've only been here since 2021. I have lived in metropolitan areas before, and one of the benefits of coming to this community was the sense of the small town feel. I actually have had personal contact with the Waterford Police Department. They've been an excellent asset to issues we've had in our community. So what I observed last week was truly astounding.
Where's the food, honey? Oh, right here.
So when I've just heard tonight that one of the board members has been expected to recuse himself from a vote, and I would ask, has that board member ever been asked to recuse himself of any previous vote associated with the police department or any budgetary issues that have come in front of the board?
No.
Because that seems to me a little questionable, along with the social media posts that have been made by the chair regarding her desire for the Racine County Sheriff's Office. And the way the information is outlined, you actually make it appear that there is such a great risk to our community if we don't go with that proposal. And last week, looking at Officer Polka's presentation, which I did, she offered options which would try to help reduce costs. But the thing that impressed me the most was where the village came in. And the village said, why don't we work together to try to make this meet the needs of both the town of Waterford and the village? And on your social media post, Chairman, that was not listed as even a consideration. So once again, the bias to me as a professional, astounding. So I really do hope that you take a very deep look at the choices that you're making and listen to the community that you serve, because that community had a very clear message last week. And I would be willing to wager you would hear it again this evening, that we want to keep our police department. Please take us into consideration.
No.
To note, any information that has been put out is the information, it's the numbers. I believe that it would be a risk to the community to go down to a part-time police department because there will be shifts open. Supervisor Ulinger, you talked about how many shifts would remain open on a yearly basis, and that's not what a lot of people don't want to leave shifts open. They don't feel it's safe. We'll move on to John Funk. Name and address, please.
Thank you, John Funk, 4827 Riverside Road, Waterford. First thing I want to do is, we did it last week. Can I see a show of hands that want local Waterford?
You should address the board into the microphone, please.
No,
Excuse me?
please speak in the microphone, sir.
This isn't our equipment. This is not our equipment.
That's fine, I got it covered, thank you. So, can I see a show of hands who want to keep local police force presence? Okay, thank you. Can I see a show of hands who would like to contract with the Racine County Sheriff? Thank you. While I know this is not representative of all the constituents, I do know that this is similar to last week, and it's very, very lopsided. The constituents that take the time to show up at these meetings that are scheduled quickly and on difficult days want the local police department to stay. So what I'm doing is I'm asking the board to vote tonight. I don't think you're capable of putting together information for a referendum at this point. I don't think you're capable of balancing a budget. I don't think you're capable of putting your plans together. So what I would ask you to do is vote for 1 year part-time Waterford local police department along the lines of what Officer Polka represented, and she said she's representing all the members of the police force for 1 year. And during that 1 year, take the time, take 6 months of that 1 year to pull together, using a committee of constituents as well, a plan for a long-term 5-year solution to this, that you can then put to referendum when you have facts and you have things lined up. Because we throw out this number of $700 and some thousand savings. I know by studying the budget that $1,361,695 is from a previous budget. That's not what it would take today to run a full-time police department. We could do that for less money. So I encourage you to take a vote tonight, to quit kicking this down the road, take a vote, and I encourage you to go with a part-time proposal like Officer Polka put together, and during that time, come up with a long-term solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this equipment is not ours. If we can just please keep it in the stand so nothing happens to it,
Damn it, John.
please. It's on loader.
We do have a number of emails that we received, so I'm going to read some of them, and I'll have Supervisor Ulinder read some of them. Ted and Donna Dursey. We urge the town board to authorize a referendum to let town of Waterford residents vote on the issue regarding police services. Monica Buchanan, I'm just writing in hopes it makes any kind of difference. I would really like to see Racine County Sheriffs get the contract. Let me know if they can do anything. Cindy Olketer. My vote is to contract with Racine, having them based out of Waterford Police Department building to ensure all shifts are covered. With all the new housing going up and population growing, we need 24/7 coverage, and it's a win-win at a lower price. Patrick Johnson, Kramer Drive, I would like the people to decide. Ryan Stultz, Allen Circle, the Waterford Police should be voted on by the people. Bob Rutherford, I do not trust the board, the police issue should not be left up to us and decide. The residents should make that decision. Do you have more?
Anna Marie Schneider says, I believe that as a member of our town community, we all should have a right to vote for either our local Waterford Police Department to continue as it has been with police officers that get to know the locals, or the Sheriff's Department. The majority of hands was shown on last Monday's December 23, 2024 last minute meeting that we do not want the Sheriff's Department working for us. I want the Waterford Police Department. I do not want the Sheriff's Department. I do not want a referendum. Rick Lofgren, it is only fair to be voted on by the people of the town. He seemed very one-sided in this matter. Leslie Ratliff says, it is my opinion that the decision of whether we keep the Waterford Police Department or contract it out to the county of Racine Sheriff's Department be the decisions of the voters and not the council. Only the residents can speak to the value of either option, not the few of the council. We respectfully ask you to consider allowing the people a voice in the monumental decision.
Some of these are pretty long, the whole thing, right?
I can't. Is that a big long one?
Yeah.
I don't know what it kind of, what the basic, this at the end.
From Kara Coates, recognizes that being a member of a board is a tough job, especially during times of increasing costs. I do request that a decision regarding the town of Waterford Police Department be put on hold until a referendum can be held. Wendy Jaggins, John, I don't know, there's a typo in one of them. Wendy John, perhaps. It is our understanding there have been many problems with the Waterford Police Department that have only recently been uncovered, and we understand that many investigations have taken place and still may be ongoing. With that said, I feel whatever information that can be legally disclosed at this time has been or should be put out there for all citizens to hear, to help put their minds at ease regarding the reasons the police department is in such current disarray. Ultimately, it ends with, personally, we feel there should be a referendum offered to the town, let the people speak and let their voices be heard. With Lofgren again, it's the same. And Debbie, can I please consider having a referendum for the police department of Waterford? I believe citizens should make this decision.
We do have somebody, Kathy Lindblom.
We also,
Please keep our police department, we've got the badge and want them to continue to do so. That was a comment made on Zoom.
Could you repeat that?
Yep, please keep our Waterford Police Department, we back the badge and we want to continue to do so.
Speak up.
it's a nice code. Then we have Eddie Olander, and please keep your comments to one
Minute.
item. Okay.
the first gentleman that spoke. How's that? What was that, about 20 minutes?
Yeah. Not quite.
All right, I'll keep it
Name and
down to
address,
15.
please.
Ed Olander, 4609 Riverside Road, Waterford Woods. Members of the board, town administrators, Tina and Heather. Hello, Kathy. And to all the Debbie, No Fox, and Lady Waterfords. Good evening. I don't think I have to remind you, because I've been up here a number of times. So many times, I think I should be getting frequent flyer miles. And just to remind the board, I'm vehemently opposed to the Racine County Sheriff's Office patrolling this community. I have no problem with them enforcing the county, which they do have jurisdiction. They have jurisdiction over the whole county. And they work with the communities, whether or not the communities want them or not. We currently pay taxes to have the support of the Racine County Sheriff's Department, called the SMART program. So if one of our police officers needs help, whatever, drones, whatever the case may be, they have it, they'll supply it. I consider this town Mayberry. We don't see all the action that downtown Racine might receive. So do we need all of that enforcement? I'm not so sure, because I know we're on a limited staff with the police department, and so far I haven't heard any complaints, period. Now, why am I so vehemently opposed? I've been out here now for 25 years. And I frequented the area for 10 years before that, hunting and fishing. I love this community. I love the people, almost all of them. And everything that this community has to offer. And I've traveled this whole country, every state except Alaska and halfway around the world. And I've been to a lot of communities. I spent a lot of time in them. I've seen what local enforcement is and what it should be and why we need it. And I always used to say is if a municipality has a lot of sidewalks, you need local police enforcement. Now, beyond that, during the years I've lived out here, we used to have a lot of sheriff presence. And the experiences that I have, and again, I'm not personally attacking anybody, I'm talking from experience after all those years. But the experiences that we have in Waterford Woods, there's about 260 residents there. They were all bad. Nothing was good that came out of the sheriff's department. They didn't have that community feel, as I call it. And they were terrible on the young people too. So I don't see the value in that. I see more value in the police department, simple as that. Relative to costs, I'm not gonna bring up costs because the one thing I really object to is you're getting a quotation from a contractor who you've opened up your books to. That would be tantamount to me having a roofer come over and I tell him, hey, I only got 10,000, not a penny more. And he gives me a quote for $9,999. That's the way I look at it. So, and to me, that also falls under antitrust, which I used to work around a lot. You don't give a contractor your books to show exactly what you're paying. Because if they want the job, they're gonna get it. They're very big. They got the money and they could skip here, skip there and tell us anything else relative to Racine County Sheriff's Department. And I brought this up last time. I looked it up. I seen all the arrests, charges, etc. by deputies in Racine County. I don't like that. And you guys will have no control as hiring a contractor. You won't tell them anything. You won't tell them that they have to have that person that lives in this area work in this department or enforcing it. You won't be allowed that. It's like going back to one of the worst decisions, and there's been many by the majority of this board. But that's when we cut the legs off of the fire and EMS for the village. Okay, we had Tishigan, a contractor. They didn't tell you anything. They ran the show. And one of the most egregious things and almost criminal, and I found out because, I was pretty active on that. That contractor told dispatch, do not ever call EMS Village of Waterford. You will go by and bypass them all. And that's a fact. And there's receipts for that. That's terrible. That's the power that you have or the control with a contractor. It's not good. So what's happened since May 4th, when everything was hunky-dory, and then all of a sudden, May 6th, you guys all looked at each other and said, hold my beer, because we're gonna go for a ride. So what happened before that? I don't remember hearing any complaints. I think we got village members. You guys have any complaints with the Waterford Police Department? Speak up. So what happened after that? We chopped the legs off a few people for whatever reasons. All I hear is, oh yeah, wait till you hear, wait till you hear. As far as I'm concerned, there's no criminal charges, like the charges brought by some of the Racine people. I see we got DA Hanson here. Why don't you ask her about the deputy that just went to prison? Why don't you ask her about the lieutenant who got arrested, drinking and driving in a police station? I'm not saying that that doesn't happen all over because it's a big department. You got a lot of people in it. And when you have a lot of people, you got bad apples. So how do I know next time a Racine Sheriff deputy comes in that he's not a child molester or shares child pornography? And that's what just happened recently. So that means no control. I don't want that. I feel safer with the police department and everything they've done, and I'm totally happy with it. I'm not gonna skimp on safety. I don't buy ball tires for the family car. I invest heavily in safety. And so again, vehemently opposed for those reasons.
So you want
Thank you.
You don't want to skip on safety, so you want a full-time police department or a part-time police department?
Don't ask me any questions. I want a police department. Simple as that. You guys can determine, you guys did the homework. Dale did a lot of homework relative to what we need. And we haven't even heard that, really. Detail exactly what we need, what will work. I've heard that a couple times, but I haven't seen anything or heard anything that says this is good, this is bad. So, thank you.
Okay, regarding to your comment about, Board does not agree with that. We've been through a lot this last 8 months. Everything wasn't okay on May 4th. We did, and for somebody, Rick, your thing before about the chief retiring, and we didn't replace him right away. He retired earlier than he was supposed to. He got out of here months earlier than he was planning on. At that time, I was starting to ask him for reports and for information that someone had requested, because she had requested that for numerous months, was blown off by a lieutenant, was blown off by the chief. I had started requesting. It was an investigation that Big Ben had done. I was contacting Big Bend, requesting that information. The previous chief decided to retire early. So then we had all this stuff kind of snowballing. We had 2 reports from inside the police department that came to us that we needed to, that the whole board decided to start investigations on because we needed to. And 2 or 3 of those officers that were involved in that were in the pool for the chief, okay? So we had to put that on hold because we don't want to say that they're guilty and give the job to somebody else while they're going through investigations. That would not be fair. So that was put on hold. So enough about the chief not being hired right away. That's why that didn't happen. They needed to be fair, okay? I just want to, and I don't know if you want to read it or I can, maybe they're tired of hearing my voice. But one thing that we can tell you, we did put out, there's a person here who requested open records for one of those first investigations. She received the information and apparently didn't bother to put it on Facebook. She puts everything else on Facebook. It probably didn't fit a narrative. There was information in that open report that people need to know. We do have another public comment from Karen Hernandez and maybe shed a little bit of light on some of that. I'll let you come up next if you like, please. Karen is a part-time police department for the Waterford Police Department.
Excuse me, sir, what is your name again?
Ed Olender.
Okay, I take complete offense to what you said about sheriff deputies.
So they
By the
weren't
way,
arrested, they weren't
take
charged? They
complete
didn't go to
offense
prison?
for what you said of what you have with sheriff deputies.
Karen is going to make a public statement, please, and everybody please be quiet.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. My name is Karen Hernandez. I'm currently a part-time police officer for the Waterford Police Department and a full-time deputy sheriff for Racine County, who I'm proud to work for. I want you all to know I am not here to advocate for either department, sheriff or Waterford. I'm also not looking for any sympathy. I want you all to know the real, true, and factual reason for the demise of this department. The demise solely came from lies, corruption, and absolute despicable ways officers were being treated behind closed doors from upper command staff and other higher personnel within this department. I am one of those officers who were harassed and retaliated against, which ultimately led to not 1, not 2, but 3 of the internal investigations requested from me against upper command staff and other persons in supervision. You, residents of the town of Waterford, should and have the right to know what your taxpayer dollars are going to. You have the right to know how your police department is being run and lack thereof. You have the right to know when the corruption started, how it started, and who the key players were. With that being said, I want at least a snippet told, which we'll call my story, the harassment and retaliation I had to endure while working here at this department. That will all be coming out in the news very shortly. It should also be known there was extensive amount of time from certain board members, there was an extensive amount of time from these board members, secretaries, Chairman Terry, Jandusa Nikolai, who in the past year alone put in 16-hour days away from their family and friends, plus the enormous amount of money spent on lawyers to clean the corruptness out of this department. I applaud you for that. I thank you very much for that. In conclusion, I would certainly hope you, the public, would never want the chance of this happening again. It was, and it continues to be, drawn out, expensive process to clean this mess up. This whole mess that should have, could have been avoided if the police department was properly overseen by the former police liaison of the department, Tim Zawinski, and the proper / professional command staff who had been on board. I can assure you the route of appointing an officer in charge from within this current department at this time is not the answer. There are still active investigations going on. And with that being said, the integrity used to be from 10+ years ago of this department is now tainted. I myself would not want to be in your position, meaning town residents, people's position to make an important decision such as where the Waterford Police Department should go without all the facts. Thank you for your time, for listening to me. I've been through a lot. I continue to be through a lot. Nobody helped me with what happened to me in this department until you, Terry, came along, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
And you have the perfect right to come forward and complain when there are complaints to be had. Bob, I just want to give a little glimpse of other things that we've had going on with another officer that recently resigned, so they have an idea that we're able to tell. Yeah. I think people want some information.
So the most recent resignation, originally the officer had requested a public hearing. At some point, he changed his mind and chose to resign instead. The allegations against that officer included such things as not fulfilling his duties. I believe the term they used was loafing. And he was also fraudulently filling out his time card at taxpayer expense, costing the town residents, the taxpayers, more money than what the town should have been paying for the service.
Allegedly or found guilty of?
Well, I can let you wait for the open records request to come out and you can determine the basis behind the complaints, but those were the allegations as I stated.
I did get permission from the attorney, because if I do this verbatim, it's okay if I do this verbatim. I know people want information, right? I'm going to read this verbatim that came off of the video that we recovered. The whole building has cameras, and unbeknownst to us, we were looking for something else, and our clerk fell upon this. And I'll read this verbatim, so it's legal. At the 14:05 mark, this officer stated, quote, "Here's a fix they haven't figured out yet, but I've been doing it all year. Put it on a vacation day."
There's no chat on the Zoom. Yep, there's a little chat box.
And they have to do whatever. Then when the time card comes, the fucking right comp. I bet I've money laundered like 100 hours of comp. They don't know. When John and Bill were here, they were keen to it, but the minute John and Bill left, I was like, fuck you guys. I put in everything. I submitted his vacation day, and if I have enough, I just do it. One of the other officers said, how is it gonna work? He said, I don't know. Again, I got away with it for a while. I'm waiting for them to do the audit, but I don't give a shit. So we do have some things to talk about. We heard from a lot of people who want the Waterford PD. We heard from people who want the sheriff. We heard from a lot of people who want a referendum. So at this time, I will open it up to a discussion of the board.
Take a vote.
Well, first, I'll make a motion, to send this to a referendum, let the people of Waterford decide.
Send what?
The question of contracting with the sheriff's department, put it on a referendum, let the people of Waterford
Are
decide.
you and Terry the only two that can talk? Or leak?
I heard that from the back, so I will answer that, but the answer is no. If you notice, there was a moment of silence where nobody spoke, and so I took that opportunity, but thank you.
So we have a motion to go to referendum, to let the people decide for the town of Waterford, and I second that motion, and we'll have some board discussion.
The town of Waterford and the county.
If someone wants to talk, you need to fill out a public comment, come forward, that time is over, we'll have some board discussion, please.
I'd like to discuss a little bit. A little over 2 months ago, not on the board meeting, but in the office, I brought up going to referendum, because at that time, we could have gone to the February referendum, because the cutoff date was December 12th. You and several other people said, there's no way you would let it go to a referendum. So I dropped the issue. Now, all of a sudden, when we have to wait to April, the cutoff date, I believe, is the middle of January. Now we're talking referendum. Wasn't good 2 months ago. Now it is good. I find that a little concerning.
I agree with that too.
We did talk about referendum before, and for months, because of how things are at the police department, and we don't have enough officers, and they were working so long, I've been asking all along, since June or July, to just get something done. You guys continued to drag your feet and drag your feet and drag your feet. Now we're here. Now we're here. And now what are we choosing on? We had a motion that was gonna be made last week to just get rid of the lieutenant that's in there holding down the fort. Because that's exactly what would happen if you voted to go with the police department right now. The sheriff's supervision right in there goes away. We're left with 3.5 line officers, no supervisors. The reason the sheriff's department is in here supervising is because we call them to come in to ask them to supervise, so we have some stability in the department. If right now we go and they go away, if they vote for the Waterford police and they go away, there's no stability at the police department at this moment. If you go to referendum, you have 3 months to devise a plan, get some stability, and then let the people decide.
And you got 3 months to keep trying to ruin the police department. So I'm against, referendum, I'm against it right now. I think, working with our village council, we have $391,309 we just approved last week for the budget of our police department. Last week, our village counterparts said they got $580,000 to work with. I think that's a darn good starting point to rebuild our police department, keep our own police department, and work together among both of us.
People can vote on. I want to ask you, if you go that route, I don't care if you have $18 million, what are you going to do when you don't have the bodies? We do not have the bodies here right now, and the main thing is, we don't have supervision. What do you propose for that?
Stuck on the past.
You're stuck in the past. We gotta move forward. We gotta figure out, even if for one thing, I think our counterparts we can work together. I'm ready to go. We rebuild and set up a committee of 2 trustees, 2 of us from our board, and 3 public. Let's have a committee that works together to solve this problem. We are the village and the town. We're separate, but we gotta work together. We have started doing a lot of things together, and now you're gonna show it. I'm tired of paying the sheriff's office, and it's like having the wolf in the hen house. You know what I mean? It's all we do is, this was brought up, and I opposed a lot of times when you tried bringing the sheriff in, because we should have started rebuilding a while ago, and it's been stopped and halted by you and Supervisor Yolanda.
That's not true, Tim. It's never been stopped. The only thing that's been stopped is you guys continuing to draw everything out. We're gonna allow them to try this. We're gonna try this. We've had things on WileyNet looking for officers, things on WileyNet looking for chiefs. We keep continuing to do this, and that's great. You want to work with the village, we want to work together, we want to get it, but the problem is, right now, we vote on this right now to get rid of the sheriff's supervision that's in there. What is your plan for supervision in 2 days? we'll have 3.5 officers with no supervisor. That's
We-
bad.
We have an officer right now that did a darn good presentation a week or two ago that until, our board meetings are coming up in 10 days or the second Monday, both the village, we can put a committee together probably by the middle of the month to start overseeing the police department and come up with actions. The committee can work on governing the police department, working with Officer Polka. And we have more, not just 3.5, we have 5 full-time officers. You keep downplaying it and all that stuff. We have 5 full-time officers left and a few part-timers left.
And those officers are line officers, Tim. Not one of them have ever had supervisory experience. And let me just give you a rundown of some of the things that I've been told that the supervisors need to do. Speaking, I will have quiet. They need to do scheduling, approving reports, calls for service, handling opening records, DA discovery requests, citizen complaints, grants for boat control, DNR paperwork, citations approved daily, crash reports, monthly stats, end of year reports, liaison to special events, payroll, facilitate detective work, hiring decisions, internal discipline, policy compliance, training program, maintaining training records, which nobody as a line officer at this department has any experience doing. And I would ask our DA, what happens, so please, when these things aren't done, or maybe they're not done correctly?
Well, from my perspective, if someone would be arrested January 1st in the town of Waterford and brought to the jail, and there's no one at this police department who can get me the materials that we need to make a charging decision, get us any discovery, which might be police reports, which might be a recording from the interview room. At this point, there's still some body camera that would have to be obtained. I'm not aware of anybody at the department who knows, frankly, how to get any of that information to us. Those people would be released from custody without information from your agency. So, and I will tell you, for those of you who have not worked with the town of Waterford Police Department, this is not a new problem. This problem has existed long before this board sat here. We went years with Chief Johnson trying to fine tune those problems and to no resolve. So if you fail to comply with some of the state reporting requirements, I don't know what that outcome would look like, but it could mean decertification for officers. It could mean it certainly increases liability for the town. I'm aware that the open records requests for the town from the police department have been done wrong for a substantial period of time, all violating the Wisconsin Constitution. There's a lot of things at stake for this board. Whichever route you go, you have to have someone who knows how to perform these functions, do the federal reporting, do the state reporting, bring things to my office, or you're gonna be spending $1 million on a police department that doesn't have any authority. If they arrest people and charges don't come from that, it will be for naught. I would also, I can certainly run the numbers for my office, but you're talking about spending $1 million. You arrested 5 people in the month of December. That's a lot of money per arrest. So I would throw that out to you that we're not seeing a volume of work from the town or the village.
This is the fear factor.
No, I'm just saying your arrests are very expensive. It's great we don't have any.
We're bringing in the fear factor to help for Racine County.
Oh, I have no position in this. I don't care how it gets to me, but it needs to get to me right, or I'm not gonna be prosecuting people.
But if that was an issue long before this disciplinary action that caused the shortage and you functioned, why can you not function somewhat now with guidance? And can we not have a officer?
So I had to dedicate a support staff to walk the lieutenants through the process almost every time.
Right. Well,
they at least had the permissions and the authority to do the things they needed to do. There's no one at this agency who does anymore on the systems that you run. And I can tell you, without a contract, the sheriff's department will be gone tomorrow night at midnight. So there's not a supervisor who's gonna come here and help, because your contract is over.
They're not gonna be gone. They have a
No, I'm not talking about patrolling. and doing the patrol work. I'm talking about the person who works in the office and does all the things that get things to me. He will be gone tomorrow.
Thanks,
Send it out.
Pick
Thank
a
you,
contract for just that
That's the
one
board meeting.
position.
Thank you, Tricia. So what the point is that we need to have somebody here, and that's why a referendum is looking attractive now. There's a lot of people that want a referendum. A referendum is giving everybody a voice, right? All you people who want the police, vote for the police on the referendum. But what we need to make sure is that we've got supervision, we've got stability in the department until then. You take that stability away, we have no supervisor in that department. So keep that supervisor here for 3 months until we go to referendum. You guys can decide. If we go with police, they have 3 months to figure it out and get someone to fill that spot. If we go with sheriff, then we go with sheriff. But we need stability. We need something at the top. We need supervision to do all of these things that we need to do.
So extended hire.
No speaking from your seat, please. You can come forward and state your name and address. We're gonna have order.
John Funk, 4827 Riverside Road, Waterford. Can't we contract solely for that supervision? Nothing more? He's a contractor. The sheriff's a contractor, so contract
Not
only.
necessarily.
Yes,
Everything, they have to
everything
get
is
everything
negotiable.
approved through county board as well, just so you understand. So they don't have that
Well, then-
flexibility just to do anything they want.
Then so on some negotiating skills and go talk to him and say, we just
Okay,
want
Mr.
that.
Funk, thank you. You may sit down. Next, please. State your name and address, please.
622 Maple Tree. I agree with this gentleman completely. Why is there not somebody on this board that is intelligent enough to qualify a police department? Why do you're sitting here being our board members, but what else you do? You overlook anything? Until you catch a fraud? You don't do nothing.
Okay, thank you, sir. One more and that's it. Public comment is actually over, so state your name and address, please.
Terry Albee, 5800 Island View Court, Waterford. I just wondered that because so many problems come up that are so unclear. Do you guys use the chain of command? Do you use job descriptions accurately and appropriately? Do you use performance records? Why aren't they out saying, here's why this happened, here's why this happened? This is why we pay this guy more, this is why we don't pay this guy or gal as much. Oh, I'm sorry, gal more. I mean, it's a simple question. Do you have a chain of command, job description, performance record, let alone values and all the other things you need to run an entity? I haven't seen them.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any more board discussion?
Yes, I had asked, and I actually had a call into the chief deputy, but I didn't get a call back. If we wanted to, could we keep the lieutenant on for another month or two? I know originally it was a month-by-month contract. I didn't know that tomorrow was the drop dead date.
Well, I think that's why Supervisor Gerke and Selinsky called a meeting for today, because they were considering the end of the year contract is when it was over. So my point exactly, if we keep the sheriff supervision in here for a couple months, do the referendum and let everyone in the town decide what they want. Everybody's asking for what they want, let them decide what they want.
Well, Terry, last week made us sound that it's ending so bad on the 31st. I'm fine extending the sheriff one more month, sorry about that. I think we should start working on rebuilding our police department, doing something going for, not do 3 months down the road, but if we missed the referendum already, and go that route. We have, when I'm hearing and talking to people, there are retiring guys out from Milwaukee that would love to come out here and work part-time or full-time, stuff like that, but they're not gonna do it under these circumstances with a chair and another supervisor that are totally against the police department.
So we're not totally against the police department, but we are for public safety. The department working 16 hours a day that they can't fulfill their shifts. According to you, you didn't even want the sheriff supervisor in here. We would have had absolutely no supervision, kind of like when you were police liaison, and no stability whatsoever.
Terry, you removed me as soon as you won police liaison, and I had no issues back then. That was probably May of 2 years ago when you first got elected, and you put Supervisor Yolander in charge. You moved me away from it. And then all this shit started hitting the fan almost a year later. So don't say that I didn't do my job as back then, because we didn't have the issues we have now.
Tim, the issues that we came to light now, we're from that bad.
I was gone for over a year.
You had them, you didn't know about them.
Thank you, Tim. The issues that came up now were things that would happen for multiple years. Am I correct? Multiple years, thank you. Any other discussion from the board?
I agree, but we need to move on instead of calling each other out. The question I have is, will the Racine County Sheriff's Department keep the lieutenant here if we ask them to for another month? I haven't got an answer, so I went on my own trying to get a hold of the chief deputy, and I haven't got a call back.
So is that what you guys wanna ask? We'll find that out.
Well, we have no time, we gotta do something now.
Unfortunately, we're at the end of the road. If you're saying if we go to referendum, you're saying if we go to referendum, they'd stick around, I would think maybe you probably have the answer already.
So you can vote to make a motion to ask them to do that.
No, I want to talk to our counterparts. Is Troy still here, Mr. Houston? You guys want to work with us on rebuilding a police department for the Waterford area?
Absolutely.
Would you have a suggestion of a starting point? If we make a motion tonight to work to, I got a couple things written out, but I want to get your take on what you recommend. You've been around for a bit, you got some other trustees here and stuff like that. What would you think? The DA spoke, so I'm asking you to come up and speak too.
They have no standing.
Come up to the mic, please.
Come up to the mic, please, and then
Sorry,
it's
Don.
gonna be always town residents tonight, Don. You can come up and.
Well, the town, I don't know if she lives on here, but the DA was up here. She lives in the lake. You open the door.
Wasn't my idea.
I'm asking for advice too.
First of all, I agree, we need some leadership. That'd be the first thing. We need to get a chief hired. I think Officer Polka could handle it for a while till we get a chief hired and then rebuild the department. I think that's the next step.
Absolutely. All right.
So we're gonna lose, Don, and they're gonna rebuild the police department.
Madam Chair, what are you handing over to Supervisor Yolander? You're gonna share with the rest of the board or no?
Actually, I wanted to ask him if he wanted to make a statement.
Dog shouldn't sit between you two.
If he does, he will.
I really would expect people to conduct themselves better than this.
We've been dragged through this mess for 7 months now. Move on.
Any more discussion from the board? Okay. Yeah, the motion was to go to referendum. I second it.
Can you be more specific on what that motion is?
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
And getting you.
No.
Aye.
Supervisor Garkey abstains.
No.
Okay, do we have another motion on the?
Can I make a motion that we have a budget of $891,000 for our police department, that we start working with our counterparts, create a committee to rebuild our police department. I'm sorry?
Is there a plan?
Yeah, we'll work on together with the village. Like, we're gonna go to our board meetings, set up the committee.
Second.
And after a month, if we don't have a chief, what's the plan for that?
We may not need a chief in a month. It's gonna take some time since you've been putting the resumes out there, not sharing anything with your fellow board members. We don't know what you've gotten or not, or whatever opposite you do.
Point of order, there hasn't been a second on the motion, so
Agreed.
discussion is not appropriate at this time.
Agreed.
Okay, so my question is, after 1 month, if we don't have a chief.
Point of
or
order,
anybody-
there's no second on the
We're
motion,
running
so
this
discussion
meeting
is irrelevant.
inappropriately. Follow
Need a
board
second before
rules.
you can have discussion according to.
Madam Chair, I will second the motion so we can have
Thank
discussion.
you.
Thank you, thank you. So after 1 month, if we don't have a chief, what's the plan?
You just said it's a month-to-month agreement with the sheriffs. maybe we can extend it a month.
Okay, so after 2 months, if we don't have a chief by then, what's your plan?
You gotta give us a starting point, to start somewhere, it's your way or no way, and I'm against that.
My point is, so if you go to 3 months, how many here would like to choose what they want? I've heard a lot of people who want to be able to vote for what they want. Can I show a raise of hands, please? I read a lot of emails that said people wanted to be able to choose. Are you taking that choice away from them?
I see no reason to take the choice away from the people. You can still do the referendum if you want to, but my motion is to start rebuilding our police department and start working with our counterparts.
Okay, so my question again, Tim, that you didn't answer, there are a lot of people that emailed in, a lot of people that called in that are asking for a referendum. Are you taking that choice away from the people?
No, I'm not. I said you can still do the referendum, but why can't I make a motion to rebuild the police department, working with their counterparts?
Okay, so we have a first and a second roll call.
Any more discussion?
Any more discussion?
Yes, when I brought up the referendum, it was mentioned to me, why would you want to go to referendum? The people voted you in to make the tough decisions. You need to make them. Unfortunately, this is a tough decision. Have I talked to a lot of people? Yes, I probably, over the last 5 days, have probably talked to 50+ people, whether in person, on phone, email, or whatever. So, yeah, I think it's time that we move on. Would I have liked to have gone to referendum in February? Yes, but I don't think we can wait till April.
I think working with the village is a good idea. I think we should work together in those areas where we can.
Any more discussion?
I'm sorry, I was letting the crowd quiet down. My question though is, in order to extend the contract with the sheriff, they have to be willing to do it, and they're gonna wanna see an end date. They're not happy that they're still here, that things have not progressed to the point where either we have a contract with them or it's a standalone.
Join the crowd.
Quiet, please.
Or have a functioning standalone department. So if the sheriff decides that they have no interest in doing this month-to-month extension, what does the police department look like in the middle of January?
We work with Officer Polka and we start with our village counterparts. I mean, they just gave our approval too. They were here for the presentation. We still have a police department and we work them there. We look at some of our resources. Maybe we talk to our former chiefs, or we work with the gentleman that was here early, he offered last time to look into and help us, you know what I mean? So I even tapped that resource. He's full of ideas probably. He's been around. He knows what to expect.
So what I'm hearing is we don't know what that looks like.
We don't know what a referendum looks like either.
And what I'm hearing is you're putting a line officer in charge with no supervisory experience who cannot handle the supervisory duties. Quiet, please, we're having a board discussion right now.
No, what I'm saying is we get a hold of the sheriff's department and we get an answer from them.
I would like an honest answer from you. When I applied here, and since then, how many times have you told me that you could not believe that I did not apply for the chief's position? Honest.
When I was speaking to you about some of your experience and some of the things that you said, I joked with you and said, hey, you should be chief. Since then, Sarah, I would like 5. Since then, Sarah, I really wish you wouldn't have come up.
Well, I've got emails from Bob saying that I'm dedicated and he appreciates my hard work and dedication in August. And I've got emails or text messages from you thanking me for my extra duties.
Yep, I did that
You
to
know
all
what
the
changed?
officers.
You know what changed? I agreed to do the presentation. That's the only thing that has changed.
That is not the only thing that's changed, sir. Bob, would you like to explain?
This is gonna be good.
Yeah, you're right.
There are some things that have been brought to our attention, such as coming into shift late, leaving shift early.
Anytime. Oh my Guaranteed that doesn't happen. And if I am here, like today, I didn't take roll call.
I'm telling you what has changed. You asked, I'm telling you.
Okay.
There's also.
The audience is be quiet, so they can talk, please.
There's also the issue of unplugging cameras and not telling anybody.
It is a felony offense to have us audio and videoed in there. I gave the law to some of the board members here. And I have talked, it's not my bacon, pass it out. I've talked to a DOJ member and asked for it to be investigated.
Very good, I hope it is.
So do we. Supervisory people who are trying to take over the job are the ones complaining about how bad these people are. Is that conflict of interest at all, or not at all? I'm not trying to
I
take
have never left.
We're doing a public comment, we can't hear you.
But that was.
So there's been other issues that have come up that I don't think.
Of course
we want
there
to
has
talk about
been.
right now.
Of course.
But, so let me ask you, have you ever performed any of these supervisory duties?
Can you read them off again? And I'll tell you which ones I know that I'm competent. And also I want to mention another thing. You want every officer that comes here to be trained. If I'm getting an opportunity to do something new, I am not afforded any training.
Good point.
When we come here, part of the problem is we didn't have field training, even though many of us have been police officers for many years. The state laws don't change. All the ordinances are pulled from state law. Nothing changes from department to department. It's all state of Wisconsin laws, okay? But you have said that we are untrained. We are a liability. So you want us to take extra field training and start from scratch when we come here. So what you're saying is if I have an opportunity to try to do this temporarily while you look for a chief, because I don't need the stress. I don't need the stress. I don't want the stress, but I'm willing to do it because I care.
Yeah, Sarah, it wasn't me, it's your department. It's your department policy, not mine, okay? I didn't make it up, not my policy, your department policy that there's field training, and we already went through months and months of explaining this. If you have 50 years experience someplace, it is your police department policy that had nothing to do with me long before I got here, right? That the police officers here have our department field training.
And
So
I worked-
that's what we were asking you
worked
guys to complete.
diligently on my own time to not only get an FTO book together, to put a PowerPoint together to explain to you. In my red folder back there, I have text messages that I sent to both of you, September 9th. You responded, he did not. And said, you're just too busy right now. You'll circle back to me. Well, I'm still waiting.
So you were working on an FTO manual.
Correct.
So we did not have an FTO manual before.
An FTO, no.
Okay, because something that I read in your investigation, you stated that you had a big manual that you got trained from.
I got it in there. The manual that you're talking about, I showed to you. It is a great big manual that has a bunch of reference stuff in it. For every arrest, the reports that you file, it's this thick. Yes, I didn't carry my bag. It was here for us to have.
So the
available.
training that the officers here needed to do was the field training that the department policy, it's not my policy, it's the department policy, which is a liability that none of you had, correct? And that's one of the things that we're gonna be going forward, no talking, please.
We also have a department policy as it relates to cameras in our work location. You aren't following that.
Yeah, you're not following that because you guys are unplugging them.
It was unplugged one time because it was super hot and it still is
If
super
there's
hot.
an issue with the camera, you need to contact the clerk so she knows to call the tech company.
I am supposed to only contact my lieutenant per you.
I unplugged it the second time.
Right.
And my mom heard it and it was really hot the first time.
How do you guys know it's hot if it's on the ceiling?
We stood up on chairs.
Okay, so if you're unplugging cameras, you know that you need to contact the clerk and let her know so she can get the tech company in here.
We
Okay.
did not know that.
I believe we
until
are getting
after.
off the task here when you were having a
Okay,
discussion.
so my
on the
question,
motion.
Sarah, scheduling,
Yes,
approving reports,
yes.
calls for service oversight,
I don't exactly know what that is.
handling open records requests.
Yes,
You have kind of open records.
you
Maybe
look
can
at the
help
state
me
law
there.
and you follow it within the state law.
DA discovery requests.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Citizen complaints, grants for both patrol DNR paperwork, citations approved daily, crash reports submitted daily to state, monthly stats, crime reporting to DOJ, end of year reports to DOJ, liaison for special events, payroll, facilitate detective work, hiring decisions, internal discipline, policy compliance, training programs, maintaining training records, and that was just part of the list that I was given. My question is, I'm not at all, I understand you have many years of line officer experience. The question remains the supervision, right? That's why the sheriff is called in the first place, to get supervision and stability here. Okay, we can ask them if they can remain for another couple months.
I
That's
have
the motion.
great respect for the lieutenant that's been here. Events. I felt bad for him that he got this short stick. He does a lot of scheduling and we just kind of do it on our own. I can't remember anything where he's like, oh, this is how you do this assignment. This is how you investigate a drunk driver. We know how to do that. We know how to be officers.
Right, but there's a lot of things on this list that need to make sure that they're done, or, you know, it's just.
Why don't we give
There
her
are
a chance?
ramifications to that. So we have a first and a second. Any more discussion from anyone? Thank you.
Tim has a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we're gonna do what? Can you repeat the motion again, Tina?
Supervisor Zelinski made a motion to rebuild, our police department and working with our counterparts, the village of Waterford. That was seconded by Supervisor Schwartz.
And asking the sheriff's department to stay a couple months. Is that-
I'll make another motion on that one.
That was to, see if the sheriffs will stay another few months.
No, I'm gonna do two motions.
Okay.
The first motion is,
Make a motion on top of it.
well, we can make,
You can amend the motion that's on the floor.
yeah, I'll amend the motion that we, extend another month for the month-to-month contract.
I'll agree with my second on that amendment.
Okay, one roll call vote. Any more discussion?
I don't think that there's enough information that has been presented based on the vagueness of that motion in order to make an educated vote.
We do have information, and you're gonna work with the village, but I think the problem is that we get to see an actual. What that's gonna look like.
Former Chief Street,
I'm sorry?
another Chief Street, our past chief? Yes, can you call please?
Excuse me, Tim, I will call people up there. State your name and address.
Rick Ranch, 28715 Golden Circle. I just want to make some clarification on things that I'm hearing, okay? If you want to go with, well, first of all, if Sarah's going to do that stuff, she has access. I know last week your labor attorney was here, so if she has discipline stuff that she needs to do, she goes to a labor attorney. I did the same thing. You don't go and do that off on your own because you'll run amok, okay? So there's things like that she'll be able to do. She might need to call somebody, other agencies are willing to help, stuff like that, so that's okay. If you want to you're not gonna just throw together a department that combines a town and a village, okay? There are legal things that have to be taken care of. There's gonna be attorney fees. It's gonna take some time. So to say we will go with the sheriff's department for an extra month, it's gonna be longer, okay?
We have a month-to-month agreement right now, so
Okay.
if we can clarify that, go month-to-month, up to them. But we also do the policing for the village of Waterford right now, so we are working together.
Okay, yeah, I know that. So it's gonna take time to hire, you're not gonna hire a chief in a month either, okay? And it will take some time. I appreciate what you said with some of those obstacles you faced with people applying, that's a problem, okay? So, but you get things ironed out, you combine, if you're gonna combine the departments or, the town and the village, and you get that ironed out and you get that chief hired, they're going to go and they're going to get things established, okay? And you go with that. So that is gonna take time. I'm not gonna give you an amount of time because it takes time. A lot of it depends on how quickly the egos are set aside for the powers that be, okay? To be honest. And so, if you get that, then things can progress. Now, from what I see, if you're going to do a referendum, you can't just say, are we gonna do a referendum to keep our police department, or are we gonna do a referendum to go with the sheriff? Because you're throwing out a part-time department, a full-time department, and a combined department. So you're gonna need to figure out what direction you're gonna go here for that referendum, and in order to make all of that happen, you're gonna need to put, they mentioned, you're gonna need to put a board together, and it's gonna have to be some of the village, and it's gonna have to be some of the town, and they have to work for the common good, which is, let's get a police department up and running in our village and in our town. And, but I'm just saying that it will take time, but it is possible. It's been done.
Thank you. And we also just need to make sure how long we can go month to month with the sheriff's department, because we need to find that out first before we speak for them. So we can do that motion based upon, you know, the possibility of going month to month with them and how long we can do that.
Tim, are you gonna add that, rather it be than, another month, but rather go month to month with the sheriff?
I'm not gonna leave my motion the same right now.
Okay, it was to, for another month, so that's why I wanted to make sure. It was seconded by Supervisor Schwartz. That's my motion.
Continue roll call.
You let her know.
Doug Schwartz, yes.
No.
Abstain. I'm a yes.
Thank you.
I do have a question, Madam Chair. I know, twice you have brought up to me about possible conflicts of interest and other things. And I know there's a one conflict of interest, the person abstained. I'm just wondering if you had a thing from Orion. Is there a conflict of interest with you being personal friends with the sheriff and having interactions with the sheriff?
I haven't seen the sheriff since, let's see, he came to do a presentation in November. So because you know someone from 20 years ago and you're friendly with them, that's not a conflict of interest. Thank you.
I would like a legal opinion on that, because I had to get a legal opinion on mine pertaining to my son owning a marine dealership. So I think since you were the one who brought it up twice to me about conflicts of interest, even though I didn't vote when we got bills from him on our budgets at that time, or monthly checks, I think it's only fair that you get a legal opinion then.
Sure. So if we have a conflict of interest for anyone that we're friends with, that's gonna be awfully hard for anyone to ever vote, and I'm not friends. Yes, I'm friendly with
Just
them.
that you were friends and had interaction with them. It would
When's the last
be
time
better to
you
get
saw
a
him?
legal opinion. You know, just because my son ran a marine.
Might do
dealership.
this. I've known Smalling since 20 years ago. I've probably seen him once in the last year. Is that a conflict of interest?
I don't know. That's why I'm
How many times have you
asking.
talked to him?
Excuse me. Doug, when you asked me whether you had a conflict
Yes.
of interest, I said you didn't, okay?
You are correct.
Okay, because I didn't think the fact that your son works at a place that serves folks with a conflict of interest.
You are correct, sir. Thank you.
I don't think that Terry's being a friend of the sheriff creates a conflict of interest anyhow, either way. So I don't think either one of you had a conflict, a legal one. You may have a moral conflict, that's different. But I don't think either one of you have a legal conflict.
And nobody's gaining any financial gain because I know someone, he gets a contract. And in fact, actually, Waterford has been pretty much of a pain to the sheriff's department lately, so.
And I didn't ask just to be against you. I just wanted, because there were questions out there, I just wanted a legal opinion on it, so we can go from there and we don't keep hearing things about it.
Yeah, oh, we still will, but thank you, Attorney Dubus. Okay, so now.
Thank you,
we've
Mr.
got-
Dubus. We're tied 2-2. I believe the motion dies then. Am I correct with Robert's rules that if it doesn't pass, the motion dies?
That's correct. Yes.
So why don't we contact the sheriff's department, see what they can do for month to month. And just maybe get more of a plan together and see what we can come up with. But I like to see an actual plan instead of just saying we're gonna work with someone. They've got money, but we don't have people, we don't have a plan. I.
I'd like to ask for clarification for our town attorney. We have a 2-2 tie. So where does that leave us in regards to this police situation, in your opinion, Mr. Dumas?
It's as if there is no vote. In other words, whatever you did last week, or maybe last a week ago, if you made a vote then, whatever you're not doing today, it's as if there is no vote. So pretend this meeting never took place. So the status quo, whatever the status quo is, you've got a contract that expires in 2 days, you've got a contract that expires in 2 days.
Yeah, so could use much more to do it. So
Can I make a motion to work with our counterparts to look into policing? I want to make a motion that we start a committee to work with our counterparts, the village, and work on a plan, as you requested, to keep our police department.
I'll second that for discussion.
I'm making a committee to do that. That way they can put it on their town board, their village board agenda. We can put on our agenda who wants to do it. I think it should consist of 2 village trustees, 2 town trustees, and 3 people from the public.
First or second, any more discussion?
And maybe even that number up, so it's evenly split with the public between the town and the village.
You need an odd number, and since the police department is one that we oversee, that's why I said 7. You don't have too many people on board.
Well, it's just a committee that's formulating a plan. It doesn't necessarily require a vote to formulate a plan. It's discussion and consensus.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Do the village.
Okay, first and second, any more discussion? Okay, we'll take roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Finalize the ARPA allocations. I know that Heather gave us some more information on the Avatech. Heather, I don't know if you wanted to explain anything, or if you want me to explain it, or.
I'd like to make a motion, for the annual agreement. I believe it is $6,100 for the extended warranties and servicing of our equipment, on-site cameras.
Please be as quiet as you can when you're leaving, please. We're still conducting business.
I'll second that.
I did request Heather if they could, give us a 2-year, and it was the same price, except it would be, instead of 61, it would be 12,200. So that would be my motion for a 2-year contract with them.
Sorry.
Is there a second?
I second it.
First and second, any discussion?
Just to verify that that's.
Yes, that would be from ARPA funds.
Okay, first and second, any more discussion?
Yeah, I did have some information.
Please be as quiet as you can. We're still conducting business. Thank you.
I'll make separate motions. Just this one.
Okay, in regard to the video surveillance equipment, the Waterford Police Department does have a policy number 337, public safety video surveillance system. That you hand out a copy to all the board members. I've highlighted a few things in here, but please read it through carefully. This is the town policy, and I don't think that we're following it correctly. So before we do any changes or installations, I'd like us all to read this and make sure that we're following our proper procedures.
Make sure you're pushing down the top.
The first and second.
Just make sure you're pushing down the top. There's people online who can't hear.
Oh, I thought I did.
Oh, I couldn't really.
Okay, so first and second, any more discussion from anyone?
Okay, maybe that.
Okay, any more discussions? Okay, so we have a first and second, let's just do roll call vote.
Aye.
Can we repeat the motion, please? I'm sorry.
The motion was to approve 2 years of extended service.
Using ARPA funds.
for the cost of $12,200.
I'm sorry, I thought Dale had mentioned something about cameras, so I thought I missed something.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I just handed out the town of Waterford Police Department Public Safety Video Surveillance System policy and procedures. I want to make sure that before we install and make any changes, that we all read this and know what the policy is, so we follow it correctly.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm sorry, I do have that. I'm sorry, I do have that. Yes. Dale, of the, parking lot at Fire Station 2, is that?
Oh, yeah, I'll give you that this morning, right? Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't know.
We've got
Get me up.
Hang on, Chief, we've got a motion in a second on this.
Yeah, we've got 2 bids for.
That's not where we are.
That's what I was asked about.
We gotta finish this first, so a roll call or no vote, please.
Aye.
Doug Schwartz, aye.
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 I'll have to say too much on the background noise. I didn't know that.
I talked.
I didn't know that was my fault. Dale gave it to me this morning.
I talked to, no, Ken Leslie.
Okay, yes. I didn't know Ken wasn't gonna be here. Yes, I did.
Yeah, the bid we have in front of us is from Stark and Van Dolen for paving the westerly approach to Station 2, which was damaged during the Highway 83 reconstruction last year. We have a bid from Starks. Gotta get my steel beams on here. In the highlighted portion for Station 2, quote is 16.5. And if the DPW guys, or if the DPW guys remove the pavement, it's 16.5. Otherwise, the full cost for Stark to remove the old pavement and to repave it is 21,000. Ken gave me the bottom note this morning, although he doesn't have anything in writing yet. Kane and Dolan gave an estimate of 8,800 for that. And that would be also with the town DPW removing the pavement and Kane and Dolan just doing the repaving.
So do we have the equipment to remove that?
Yes, yeah, the front end loader can do that. Yeah, they're capable of doing that for a relatively small area as this.
Make a motion to approve the repaving with the DPW doing the removal up to $21,000, but going with the lowest bid that we get in writing.
I'll second it.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor, roll call vote.
Aye.
Doug Schwartz, aye.
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 And we've got the access control corridor addition proposal. Did you want to say anything about that, or I'll put you on the spot, but did you want
It
to?
was just something that's been discussed in the past. So they sent out a proposal to have key fobs instead of changing locks when we get new employees or, lose employees. So it would be the 2 doors in the PD and then our door for right now.
Okay, so we're talking 2 doors in the PD,
Yep.
the door by you,
Yes, and that's it so far.
and then this one will stay with the line.
As far, right now, that's all he did, that's all he
Okay,
did.
Now, Heather, the door by you mean the double doors, or you mean the entrance to the offices?
The double doors, the entrance to the building. Terry.
Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the access control bid using ARPA funds up to $16,400.
Using ARPA funds?
I'll second that.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor, roll call.
Letter
Doug Schwartz, aye.
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 Well, that leaves us with the small amount left. I don't have the exact numbers right now. Depends. Payment and Dolan comes in at 8,800, that would take us a little more.
Can I make a motion to put it for the roads? Do we have other bids for the roads we can approve?
Yeah, I'll second that idea.
First and second, any discussion?
It can be used on our roads, but it has to be designated to a contract. Do we have an open contract that can be designated towards?
I believe we do. Can, I'm earmarked some for already the next year.
Yes,
Won't cover all of
Miller
it.
Road was left open for, we got a bid on it, that was good for this year.
Yep.
And we did not do it yet, it was held over for next year, so we actually have a bid on it from a low bidder.
Yep.
That's for Miller Road.
Once you made that motion at the last meeting was to hold it over, so yeah. All right, then we can just send that.
Any more discussion?
Specifically for Miller Road?
Yes, they have for ARPA funds, you have to have a contract to tie with it.
Roll call vote, please. Roll call
Letter
Doug Schwartz, yes.
vote. Aye.
Arkia,
Yes.
That was it. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Yay.
Second.
Adjourn at 7.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Couple of interviews there.
Yeah.